The government is set to support Victorian and New South Wales businesses as they reopen with a funding package announced until that 80% target is reached. Well, joining me live now is the Shadow Minister for Finance, Katy Gallagher. Katy, good to see you. Thanks for your time this morning. So it's a two-pronged question here because money's going out today and money's also coming in. So first of all, I just want to get your thoughts on these weekly grants of up to $8,400. That's going to be provided to small and medium-sized Victorian businesses until the end of October. Do you think that will be enough to get them back on their feet again?
Morning, Pete, and thanks for having me on. Look, I think what we've been saying since the beginning of the pandemic really is that you have to tailor your economic support to the conditions at the time. And some of the concerns we've had is that the Commonwealth's been pretty arbitrary and prepared to turn the tap off pretty quickly without being mindful of the different impacts on different businesses depending on what sector you're in. So I don't think our message changes. I mean, we're glad that there is economic support, but we also think the federal government has a responsibility, considering much of this lockdown is because of our low vaccination rates linked to our low supply of vaccine, that they do have a responsibility to make sure business is supported. And even past 80%, Pete, you know, we know there's going to be some lockdowns. That's what the modelling tells us. And some businesses will not be back to operating at 100% for a fair while yet.
So how would you tailor it and for how long?
Well, again, I think, you know, for example, if I use the ACT here, as we near 80%, businesses will be allowed, say we take a pub, you know, it might have a capacity of 120 or more people in the room. They're still only going to be allowed to have 25 people in the room. So even though we hit those high vaccination rates, for many businesses, and hairdressers are another example, they're not going to be back at 100% for a fair while. So I think it's about understanding the industry-specific needs of business, and I've heard business organisations say that, but also monitoring it in a rapid way. I don't think it's fair to think that you can have a date and say, well, we'll turn the tap off and everything will be all right now because we're at a certain vaccination rate. I don't think that's businesses' experience during this pandemic.
So monitoring so businesses can't game the system.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you know, we've been really vocal about, you know, people only getting support where it's needed. But I think if you look at Victoria, New South Wales and the ACT, there are thousands of small businesses that will not be going back to normal for a long period of time. And I guess the question to the federal government, who has access to all the data and all the information, is it, you know, is a arbitrary turn off for all businesses a fair approach when many are going to be doing it tough for months to come? But we do accept that you can't just keep, you know, paying these payments. We certainly accept that. They need to be targeted. They need to be going to businesses that need them the most. But we need to actually understand what that business environment is for those individual businesses. It
was a very quick economic bounce back last time, and figures out today which suggest that Australia had a budget deficit of nearly $80 billion less than forecast. That was pre-Delta, by the way. But that was an indication that our economy was in very good shape when doomsayers were suggesting that things were going to fall off a cliff. That didn't happen last time. So why would this time be any different?
Well, I think when we look at the budget, and certainly welcome the budget improvements, but I think, Pete, we're in this new world where you know, $100 billion deficit is actually a good outcome. You know, it's an unusual situation. We've got truckloads of debt. We've got deficits going to be forecast for the next 40 years. And so that is the environment. It all hasn't magically gone away. And, you know, again, whilst we welcome that improvement, the budget is under a fair bit of stress and will be for some time. So I guess the message from my point of view is every dollar spent out of that budget needs to be a high quality and effective spend. We can't have waste, we can't have rorts, we can't have, you know, jobs for mates, things like that. We have to be really targeted in how we use the budget to make sure that the economic recovery post this third lockdown or third wave is actually as good as it can be.
But if you wanted to keep government spending going for certain sectors, then wouldn't the deficit be higher?
Well, I'm not saying there shouldn't be spending at all, and I think people expect government to keep investing. We have to secure the recovery. The point I'm making is that every dollar spent has to go to deliver an outcome, whether that be saving a job, helping a business to keep going, putting food on the table for people who've lost jobs. And, let's not forget that lots of people out there don't have a job at the moment. So we have to make those sensible investments. And we hope, to basically secure the recovery that, again, will support the economy, which in turn will grow the budget. That's the solution and that's the strategy we need.